Welcome to our weekly program, The Inside Story of Chabad in America through the Mindel Archives. We are now a couple weeks away from Yud Aleph Nisan, the Yom HaGodel, the Yom Holedes of our Rebbe. Last week we read Kuf Chof Aleph, Kapitel Kuf Chof Aleph in Tilim. As we spoke last week, that when this is from the Baal Shem Tov, when a person becomes a certain age, he always says Gula Tarichas Yomim to say the next kapitel. So the Rebbe is becoming 120 Yom, so we say Kuf Chaf Aleph, and that's what we learned last week, Kuf Chaf Aleph. The Torah says V'hoyu Yomov Meyo ve'esrim Shono. A person's life is 120 years. When Moshe Rabbeinu became 120, he left a will at Tzavor. He said at Tzavor, it wasn't a written Tzavor, it was a oral Tzavor. He benched the children. When Yaakov Avinu, before he passed away, Vayikrevu Yimei Yisrael Lomus, he also left that Tzavor. So, we said last week Kuf Chaf Aleph because the Rebbe is mashpia. Even usually after a person passes away, we don't leave. We don't say that it's still him, but by a tzaddik, by a Rebbe, because his hashpor comes down even afterwards. Mazara b'chaim, avu b'chaim. So today I want to read to you the tzavor that the Rebbe asked we should write down. I'll explain to you soon. Now let me read it from inside here. The Rebbe called into his room Rabbi Mindel, Rabbi Chadakov, and Rabbi Pikarsky, the Rosh Yeshiva. They're all in Olam HaEmes. On Yud Dalet Sivan Tovshin Mem Ches, 1988. After Mincha, he called them into his Yechidus room. And the Rebbe asked Rabbi Mindel to write down what he's going to say. And he wrote down. That I'm not going to read today. I'm going to read the other one. Also, a second time, Tuesday, the 17th day of Elul, he called them in again. And he told them his last will and testament. And Rabbi Mindel wrote it down in Hebrew. And the Rebbe also said that he should translate that in English. So I'm going to read the English one. It's almost, the Hebrew is probably more accurate, but it's almost the same. And on the English, Rabbi Chadakov made notations. I have here the notations. Divrei tzadikim kayomim lo'ad. Unfortunately, most of them are in Olam HaEmes. And whoever the names are, whenever he's here, should have Arichas Yomim Bishonim Tevis. So since it's 120 years of the Rebbe, we read Kuf Chaf Aleph. So I'm going to now read this tzavor. I'm reading it from inside. The English one, the English that was translated from the Hebrew. Most of the people know this, but some don't. So this is for the people that never heard of it. Last will and testament of Menachem Mendel Schneerson. We, the undersigned rabbis, M.A. Chadakov, Nisa Mindel, and Yisrael Yosef Yitzchak, Pekarsky, do hereby testify that on the third day of the week, the 17th day of the month of Elul, in the year 5748, according to the Hebrew calendar, corresponding to Tuesday, August 30th, 1988, were requested to appear before His Eminence, the Lubavitcher Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson, son of the late Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Schneerson, residing at 1304 President Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11213, for the purpose of his making his last will and testament. We found the above named testator of sound and disposing mind and memory, not under influence or stress of any kind, and completely competent to make a will. And the testator did make and constitute the following to be his last will and testament, thereby revoking any and all other wills by him heretofore made, declaring as follows. It is considered auspicious for a long time to make a will. I have invited the three of you, first and foremost, Rabbi Emei Chadakov and Nissen Mindel, since you were among the first persons whom my saintly father-in-law, the Rebbe Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, had made you his close associates in his work ever since he came to the United States, bringing you over with him. And he invited you with the chief tasks and responsibilities in the administration of his newly founded organizations, Merkaz L'Elyon Chinuch, underlined, and Machane Yisrael, underlined. And you have continued to serve in this capacity to this day. And with you I have invited Rabbi Yisrael Yitzchak Pekarsky, Dean of Central Lubavitcher Yeshiva Timchet Mimim, for the purpose of making my last will and testament in the presence of the three of you as under. Number one, I desire and direct that all affairs of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, including all institutions, activities, programs, and so forth, continue to operate and function after my demise, as they have functions heretofore, in according with established custom and practice that have been in place over many years. Number two, inasmuch as my saintly father-in-law, the Rebbe, ever since he came to the United States, challenged most of his public activities through the chief two organizations which he founded here, namely Merkaz L'Elyon Chinuch and Machane Yisrael, with all the departments and branches. And inasmuch as upon succeeding my saintly father-in-law, the Rebbe, as head of the Chabad movement, I continue this way. I desire and direct that the same procedure be continued after my demise, with the additional proviso, however, which I deemed necessary to implement in recent years, namely the renew and reactive the World Agudas Chasidei Chabad as the third main body, which together with the affirmation to chief organizations, Merkaz L'Elyon Chinuch and Machane Yisrael, would constitute the three central pillars of the Chabad Lubavitch movement through which its worldwide activities are conducted. Hence, it is my desire and directive that no change be made in this established order and procedure. Now, there's something here that was crossed out. Okay, The above stated directive that no change be made in the administration of the said organizations refers only to those executives who have been serving in their executive capacity for at least a period of 3 years. And then the Rebbe names who should be Merkez, which I'm not going to name the names. And Rabbi Chadakov also wrote notations here. Who is going to be Machane Yisrael and Agudas Chasidei Chabad. With the notation of Rabbi Chadakov. With regard to Maimid, funds donated to the Rebbe's discretion, it was the practice of my father-in-law, the Rebbe, to divide the Maimid funds into 3 parts and turn them over to, respectively, Merkez L'Yonechinu, Machane Yisrael, and Lishkas Chashoi, a special fund, which is one of the departments of Machane Yisrael. I too followed this established practice. It is my desire and directive that this practice be followed also post-umasli, namely, that all contributions to Maimid be divided in 3 parts for Merkez L'Yonechinu, Machane Yisrael, and Lishkas Chashoi, respectively. Next, although it is my intent and confident hope that all the above directives will leave no room for any doubts, and the like, yet in the event that there might nevertheless arise some doubts in regard to any matter and details, I humbly empower Rabbi Chadakov, Nisa Mindel, and Rabbi Pekarsky to determine and resolve the point under question. Absolutely, and so be it. I humbly appoint Rabbi Chadakov, Nisa Mindel, and Yisrael Yitzchak Pekarsky as executors of this my will. And this is the will. Now, this is what the English, this is a translation from the Hebrew. Now, there was an English will before this one that the Rebbe said, the Rebbe signed, but that will was for the government. It was a physical, for his physical need, his assets that he had, the material, a Gashmizdike will. But this we can see is the more authentic will. This is a Ruchnishdike will, and this is Divrei Tzadikim Kayomim La'ad. When the Rebbe called them in twice, once in Sivan and once in Elul, the Rebbe spoke, and the Rebbe asked him to write down, and the Rebbe wanted Bedavki a Rav, which the English one, the other one, he didn't have a Rav because that was for the government. So this is the authentic will that the Rebbe wanted to be. So because this, talking about Kuf Chaf Aleph, so I thought I would read this will. Now, next week, I want to read to you what the Rebbe wrote, the first letter after he became Rebbe to someone, and he said that the previous Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, left him a will, told him a will, not written, told him a will. He told him and this other person that he wrote, and it's pretty interesting, and that I will read in Mitzvah Hashem next week. Thank you.